Here we go. So episode number 19, Pest Control Millionaire. We have a very, very special guest. Someone who I met recently, who I think is going to become one of my really good friends. We hit it off pretty well. Chris Moreschi. He is the owner and CEO, founder of Gorilla Desk. He's an absolute stud of a guy. I got introduced to him at an event that we were at a couple weeks ago. Got introduced to him by my friend Matt. And it wasn't after like 3-5 minutes, we connected pretty easily. Super high level guy. And I think that's why he was interested in me as well. We just, we got talking on a deeper level and super excited to have you here. So thanks for joining us today, Chris.
Yeah, Jonas, thanks for having me. It was really cool to connect. You definitely see like the hustler's mentality and attitude. So that's kind of where we connected for sure.
For sure. We talked for many hours that night. But I like to just figure out at the very beginning, like, who was Chris like in high school?
In high school, basically shy, played a lot of guitar, kept to myself, was a CE B student. And yeah, I mean, I would definitely like a guy who is in the computers a lot and playing guitar a lot, just kind of doing a lot of things by myself, just being creative on my own.
That makes sense. And then fast forward, like, what made you get, I know the story, but what made you get into building out software and where did you start in the industry?
So, my dad started his pest control company in 1986. I was 5 years old. So I could always remember, being around the family business and being around my dad when he had his pest control company. He always kept it small, just as a company to put my brother and I through college. And then he always worked another job, let's say for the city as like the groundskeeper for his licenses. So, sorry, I just lost my thought. Sorry. So yeah, I just remember growing around it and I didn't really think I'd ever be a part of the family business. Never thought pest control was for me. My strength was always kind of, I guess, in English and writing, never so much in math and sciences. So when I went to school, I just studied creative writing and not really knowing what I wanted, but I really enjoyed my college time, and I met my wife there and that's kind of were some of the best years of my life. And when I graduated college, I worked for a Business Wire, which was a news distribution company. They're still around. I worked for them for a year, but I kind of had the itch that I really felt unemployable. I didn't want to work for anybody. I felt like I wanted to write my own path and not really take direction from anybody else. And I knew that I had the entrepreneurial spirit. So I saved all my money from Business Wire to get into building my first online e-commerce store, which was Event Brander. Event Brander provided promotional products mainly to the gymnastics industry. I found my niche because I made a few close contacts in that industry. And so we started to provide all the promotional goods. And during that time is when I cut my teeth on software development because there wasn't any Shopify or anything like that at the time. So I had to build pretty much from custom PHP framework from the ground up using a development team. And that's where I learned about software development. And, as you go down this journey, you start to learn which models you really want to be in. And that's SaaS software because it's a recurring revenue model. And I knew that I could use my family's business, if I jumped into my family's company, to build a software that would help manage the family's pest control company that would come out on the other side with a SaaS model that I could then, bring to market because I knew that my family wasn't that tech savvy. So if I created something really, truly easy enough for them to use and I brought that to market, I knew a lot of other people would have that need. So that was kind of like the path that I saw for myself. And so 17 years ago, I got involved with the family business to help manage the pest control company and grow it. During that time, I built Gorilla Desk to manage that company. And now for the last 10 years, I brought Gorilla Desk to market. And there's over 3,100 companies across the US and many other countries that use the platform today.
That's such a great story. I love it. But your family was using a software back in the day you told me about, but I don't remember which one it was. Like when you first got back in the business.
So the very, very starting point was index cards, right? Yeah. That's where I brought them from, index cards and on to Smart Service, which is more of a desktop-based application. They're still around today. But that was one of the first applications we used, Smart Service combined with desktop QuickBooks.
And what year was that again? 2016?
Let's see. So that's 17 years ago from today. So where are we at in our, you could do the math real quick.
Let's not. Like a million years ago. But yeah, it's super cool. I love your story because again, you're a hustler too. You were in the pest control world, but you were a software guy, and you knew the software would help your company scale, right? And I feel like that's where a lot of the younger, newer guys don't really know where to go, right? They're stuck on index cards or Google Sheets, and they're trying to figure out like billing, and they're trying to do scheduling. And they just can't figure it out. And then they, like I said, I seen one of your videos, like they hate their life because they're trying to do all this stuff on paper, right? And I feel like they get up to like 200,000, 250,000, maybe 300,000 that way, but then they can't scale past that. And then the customers are mad because they're not getting billing on time and things like that. So to those guys that are just starting out, like, what do you see in the marketplace that once they get onto your platform, how they easily scale?
Well, really, they don't really have any solid processes, and they're doing everything manually before that a lot of the time. Or they're coming from a software that might be too difficult to use, isn't adopted by their whole team, or they're not using all of the product. So it kind of depends on where they're coming from, based on how much like initial value they'll get. But somebody being from scratch, from paper, what they're going to notice is that they're going to be able to already look like they have a large image in the marketplace, because once you go to presenting yourself digitally, the way that you communicate has to do with how you're perceived. So, if they're getting out marketing communication that is up to the standard and level of another larger company, because the software are basically all triggering around the same communication points, right? So that's one good benefit, is they're already looking like a company that somebody out there will know, like, and trust because of the way that they're communicating. And of course, that will allow, them to bring on newer customers faster, as well as, gain integrity in customers' preference of them being in the market. So, that's one big one, is that they're going to be able to look like they're a good entity in the marketplace with integrity, that's communicating with integrity when they're on a platform that's helping them automate their communication. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. To me, it does. And then what about like billing wise and invoicing?
Yeah. So they're either invoicing, if they have QuickBooks, they're invoicing out of QuickBooks, or they're using paper carbon copies, let's say. And invoicing ends up becoming much more instant. And you allow people to pay in the way that they want to pay, which is a lot of ways by credit or debit card. So you enable that through your application on the fly, and you can take all types of billing processes, cash, check, and your credit and debit card, and process them, right there in front of the customer. Fire an email or send up a text to them as well if they're not in front of you, and get that prepayment if you need it as well. So it really opens you up to doing payments any way you want to. You could also do automated subscription billing. And that was one of the big reasons I got into building software, is because I wanted more automated subscription billing models for our industry, with its different seasonalities, and just adding even more flexibility for our industry.
Yeah, it's such great information, because again, it just helps the cash flow, right? Like you said, in those slower months, you do subscription billing, and you don't have to worry about the dips of the winter revenue.
Yeah, you can collect before you roll trucks out, and that's usually, brings the most value to your company if you're able to kind of make sure you're collecting on a recurring basis, even before you're creating that expense on the back end.
Yeah, so I know you've been working on Gorilla Dust for a long time, but the last year, I think you said, you've really been making some really big changes. And you told me that you're a perfect client, what they look like. What does Gorilla Desk now do currently that it didn't do like a year ago?
I'd say now we save them a lot more time typing or doing things that are monotonous. So kind of all the system where you would have to type, there's now some type of a list that you can pull from that ends up being a template that makes that job faster. And basically all the types of seats, whether it's technician, customer, admin, or manager, that, we really templated a lot in the back end, so that they could start off with templates instead of having to start off any new light item, job note, location note type of a sales letter or email, just being able to bring everything right up as a template. And I know that's, maybe something that it's just something that we were able to accomplish to make sure that we were saving everybody the most time across the system completely.
And those marketing and sales emails are super important. We can get into that later on. And then over the next 6 months to a year, what's your big projects on the desk for Gorilla Desk?
Really, we imagine, a lot more reporting that's really geared towards each persona type. So manager, technician, CSR, and kind of tying that into the system and what they should be doing, kind of giving more direction behind the metrics that each role should be watching after and how to take action on those through kind of dashboards that are serving up what they should be working on. Yeah. And just, instead of people having to really remember or think about things that are strategic, serving them up in a manner that looks like the dashboard that's kind of meant for them. That's a really good big goal that we have.
Yeah, I love that. And then let's circle back because you talked about the marketing and sales letters thing, and it's such an easy thing to do. Like you have, let's say they have, for easy numbers, they have 500 customers, right? And they want to upsell a current customer. It's the easiest way to make more revenue besides getting new customers, but it's the easiest way. I mean, it's a click of a button, right? What do you see conversion rates at on the marketing side of emails or SMS or whatever you guys do?
Yeah, so that's kind of a broad question. Conversion, I think, really ties down to what is the offer? How strong is the offer? Is the offer timely? Is the communication timely? Who are they speaking to directly? Are they shooting it out too broadly, or is it very specific to kind of a list that would convert highly? And I don't see people traditionally thinking that way because, service operators aren't marketers by trade. So, just being the more focused you are with that communication, who you're targeting, the better conversion rate's going to be.
Yeah. So you're just going to split test certain letters to certain people, right? And certain offers to certain people at certain times of the year. You really dialed into marketing, which is really awesome. But didn't you, or Gorilla Desk, don't you have a whole marketing side of the company as well?
We do. On that side, we help companies reach the $1 million mark. We call it our Silverback program. The Silverback program on the Gorilla Desk side is mainly comprised of a lead converting website with good SEO on the back end, continued local SEO services for their main terms, dominate the organic rankings. And then we also work on the GMB Google My Business listing to help them gain rankings in the map pack, as well as we will do setup on local service ads. So we're really, helping them with the services where most of the eyeballs go on Google. And, mostly that's what we're working on. We do help advise them on which promotional marketing campaigns. We've actually written guides around that for users to manage that themselves. But that's not something we manage in our marketing campaigns. Mostly it's those services. It's the website, the component, the organic search ranking, SEO, and then the GMB map pack. Those are where we offer services around.
Cool. And so basically they come in, they can use their software and get marketing out at the same time. So just all under one roof.
Yeah, so we saw that need. They didn't really know who to trust. They already trust us brand because we're there as their CM. And so, we're there to offer that initial service to help those companies get to the next level. A lot of them don't even have that belief. And so the Silverback program just helps give people the belief that, yeah, they can do it. And there's a path to get there. And there's a lot of people who have done it before.
Yeah, I agree. That's super awesome. And then when did your wife get involved with the company? Was she from day one?
No, actually only since COVID when, her office started working from home, and then it just made more sense for her to kind of move on from there and to continue working for me. She worked for a previous company for 11 years, had a great time there, loved being around with her friends, but that ended up being a turning point for not the company, a lot of the employees as well as her. And, for us, it was a natural progression that was always going to be what ended up happening. And so that was the timing. So just the last few years, she's been working in, mainly she likes working with the marketing clients and setting up all of our shows and communication with the trade shows, making sure that we're there and present with our clients, out in the field in the industry.
Yeah, she's a rock star too. I said I get to visit with her at dinner for about a half hour, 45 minutes, and she definitely knows what she's talking about. she's super awesome to have on your team, I can imagine. And she was kind of like the face of the company while you were in the back end building out all the software, correct? She was out going to all the trade shows.
Yeah, she's enjoyed that more so over the last few years. While most of all my skill set on growing Gorillaz has been through digital marketing, which is where more of my strengths are. But of course, me being out front and getting to the shows builds a certain rapport. It's good to be out there. I felt the difference. I've actually been out there trying to get out there more myself. But traditionally, I would be behind the scenes and working on just making sure that the product and sprint deliveries that we promise are hit, on basically a weekly and quarterly basis so that we can continue rolling the feature set out to continue to go up market.
Yeah. And how many people are on the Gorilla Desk team now?
About 32 people, predominantly developers.
That's impressive. And like a lot of people that really don't understand the SaaS software side, it's not an easy business to start. And it's very complex, right? And you have your overhead costs because your employees are so high, right?
Yeah.
And so how did you, like, I know, like I give the example of like getting out of the truck. Like, how did you know when you needed like that first software person to help you out? We talked about this a lot that night.
Yeah. So basically I had to commit a certain amount of revenue coming in through another route that I built up while I was running the family business to building the first version of Gorilla Desk. I
love that.
I
remember you told me that night. You're like, we set up a specific route, and I told my family everything that we get from this route goes to our software.
Yeah,
that was so awesome. So you use that money to start developing the software, and you said you had like a couple $100,000 into it at that point.
Yeah, so it was like 80,000 the first year. The second year we were in it like maybe 250,000, and so because everything from the previous year we made on that route, we just kept putting it all right into that product. So the route did really well. Thankfully, we were able to grow the product, and it took about 4 years while I was with the company to get it to really work well for the company. And then like another 2 to 3 years when I moved on to make sure that it was a fit for a majority of people that I was trying to sell through to. So there was still a period of development there. And so like over the last 7 years, we've had a good amount of traction where we're onboarding about 25 companies every single week right now, and around 3,100 companies on board.
That's so impressive. And your father's company, how important was Gorilla Desk in the early days?
So it definitely made a huge impact on their business. Like I said, he kept it always very small. Once I got into involved, we were able to bring it on online digitally, enable it with automated communication through the software and scheduling practices, make the routes a lot more dense. That has a lot to do with your ability to have profitability, and just everything that the software was able to enable them to do, we made use of, and we grew really well during that time. When I decided to move on from the company, I left the company to my younger brother. He still manages it today and grows it. And we still continue to have synergy where, how do I still enable him to continue to grow and break through barriers? And it's really cool because like listening to my brother is like listening to all the rest of my customers wanting to serve him. I have the passion to serve him. So it's like, I just extend that to everybody else and continue to want to make the best product that we can.
That's great. With the whole marketing side, you said you built a website, you do the SEO strategies, and do you do like review campaigns for their customers? You teach them how to do review campaigns, and how important is that to their SEO strategy and Google My Business?
It's really important. So review velocity is important. I think it's good to note review gating. A lot of people think that they can gate their reviews where the only 5-star reviews can go onto Google, and that's kind of, if you get caught doing it, they can take down your whole account. So we don't promote that. But Gorilla Desk does have a tool set, we recommend that on your follow-up, immediately when you hit the job is complete in the software, that customer gets an email which asks for that review at that time. It's good for the technician to also remind the person if they're there that, hey, I'm just going to ask you for a quick review if you don't mind. And it just makes it top of mind. They end up leaving those reviews. And when they come on to the marketing campaigns, we try to look at their whole customer base and create a sequence, a drip campaign that will opt them into allowing to send a review. To leave a review on Google. So we're definitely making review velocity a very critical component of the local SEO campaign. Playing offense and defense on reviews, meaning it means your velocity remains the same or improves over time compared to your local competition in your reviews. So we pay a lot of attention to, is review velocity staying the same, going up or down for each of the companies that we work for?
Now, with the Google My Business, do you think it's a good idea to open up, so let's say you have an office in the central of 4 other towns that are 30 miles away, but you service all those markets. Do you recommend opening a Google My Business for all 4 locations or just your current location?
It depends on your local competition, and so if it's highly competitive, your reach will be strongest, we believe, within the first 15 miles. So really, it depends on if you really want to service there, then you're going to put your pin within that 15-mile radius if you really want to service there. But if you're really going for total lead acquisition due to population, then you need to put your address where it's the most dense in local population. And if you're really trying to hit them all and they are 30 miles apart, we would probably recommend to pick the next most populated one and start to develop that second location. Once you're going out within 15 miles, because we do envision it becoming even much more competitive over time, so if you can dominate 2 hyperlocal areas, then it's better than one.
Yeah, I agree with you. All these new and up and coming business owners are pretty savvy, right? They're pretty tech smart. So they're jumping on right away, where some of the older companies, they haven't been on and they may not ever jump on board. So I could see it definitely get more competitive as well. Let's switch over, maybe talk about a little bit of scheduling. What does it look like through the scheduling software of Gorilla Desk?
Basically, we want it to be very visual. So we give you a map on the left side and your calendar on the right side. And you can look at, a week view, a day view, a month view, and it shows you all the pins, all the jobs on the schedule are either confirmed, unconfirmed, complete, a reschedule, or cancel. We keep it really simple, so any admin looking at it can understand what stage they're in. You can also change the visuals of all your jobs to change color based on the service type or based on the technician. You can change if you want the pins to reflect all the technicians per day or just the technician for the whole week. So basically, we're giving you the visual tools to get a map and a schedule looking the way you want it to make sense to you. And then from there, there's a routing layer. So you can hit on any one of those views to route those jobs, and you can route, it gives you an option to use proximity, which is without streets, or to actually use streets. And then Gorilla Desk also has a new tool set that allows for identifying the jobs that are on the same side of the road, so that you're not having to continue to switch back and forth.
That's awesome.
So it has a really cool driving matrix, and you can, you have a bunch of parameters that you can select to tell it to get how you want. Then you can preview your changes before you apply them, and allows people to get any routing job matrix done. What else is cool about our drive matrix is Google APIs, Mapbox APIs, they limit their driving directions routing grid to 24 stops per optimization. And so we've opened up ours up to 99 stops.
Wow.
And that will give you a much more accurate grid for many more stops at one time. So that's something unique to Gorilla Desk.
I agree.
And
I know that when we have like a super truck out there that's running 24 to 26 routes, sometimes it won't let us optimize those bigger routes.
That's right.
So that's really cool.
That's right.
I like that.
And then we're trying to enable many more visuals of seeing all your services on a map, being able to draw around those, select the services and drop them on a day on the schedule and assign them, cool drag and drop tools, things that are much more visual. That's what Gorilla Desk leans into, making it feel easy and intuitive, not like you're filling out, forms or having a more archaic software. And that's our approach.
That's really cool. Is there anything that's in beta right now that you can kind of tell us about, or is it all secret stuff?
Actually, there's a whole new version of Gorilla Desk in beta, built from the ground up. And that's recent as of, last quarter. Yeah. And so we have a select group of users right now using the whole new version of Gorilla Desk that we're really excited about. So taking the previous system, overhauling the UI, it's still familiar. So nobody really needs to feel like they need to be trained. It's just nicer, more organized, it's updated. So, that's happening right now. And anybody goes and gets a free trial of Gorilla Desk, there's a button in there where you can opt to jump into the new version.
Yeah, I think check that out. I wrote down there's a free 14-day trial for Gorilla Desk. So anyone who wants to jump on there, it's free. I mean, why not? Go try it out. If you don't like it, not a big deal, but you might find something you really, really like in there. Do you think that it's geared toward, medium-sized companies, smaller companies, or larger companies, or it's something that you can scale with?
Gorilla Desk you can definitely scale with. So we have multi-location companies with 30, routes per location. And we're really building in more of our tool set, listening to those owners directly, and what they're getting is going to be coming out in this first quarter for them. So we're right in that mix of making sure that we're serving those size companies really well. And, Gorilla Desk for a long time has served the small market, SMB market really well. And of course, that's our bread and butter because 75% of the service industry is all the solo operator. So, on average, the company size in Gorilla Desk, because there are so many companies, ends up being 4 trucks. But there's many companies that are, at multi-location, maxed out on the amount of trucks that they have. And we're continuing to build tool sets specifically for that right now.
That's cool. So for the multi-location companies, can you switch back and forth from location to location? Are the customers all in one data set? Are they in separate data sets? And what does that look like?
So right now they're in separate data sets, and you can kind of just, if you're at that manager level, you can jump back in between either one. Then you get into their individual reporting. In the future, they're saying we would like to kind of merge a dashboard together that would give those metrics across companies that people are trying to pull right now manually.
Yeah. And I like that too, but I do like it because sometimes like you put in like a customer's name and it pulls up from a different data set. Like it's not even related. Like it's a whole different, area or a whole different office. Like, wait, why is that person in there? So I do like it like that as well. That's really cool. So the new releases, is there anything else that in your new release for Gorilla Desk that is super awesome?
Let's see. So, something I'm excited about, it is a couple of months away, but there's a full opportunity pipeline management and sales pipeline management tool coming to Gorilla Desk. I know a lot of people are using outside pipeline tools for doing sales. And, I really believe it needs to be tightly integrated and doing it in a really, really easy way. So, that's something that it really knows is directly coming, but yeah, it'll be coming down probably in the next 3 months or so.
I love that. And I know that you told me these things when they were out there. So I'm trying to pull them out of you. I just didn't know how much information. I didn't know how much information you'd want to give to the public because I found it super fascinating. Like we use different pipe drives too, pipelines. Sorry, throwing people out there. Pipelines as well for sales. And I hate having softwares for this and softwares for that and softwares for this. Like it'd be great to find one software that could handle all those problems, right?
Yeah.
Especially in the lawn and pest industry, when we have a lot of sales guys out there, it's nice to have it all in one spot. And so you and I were talking, and this is why we started talking a little bit more, like the lawn care side. Yeah, we're a pest control company, but does pretty heavy in lawns. And when I pulled up your website, it says, you're a bunch of different industries, not just pest control. It could be HVAC, plumbing, lawn care, you name it. And so, well, these are the issues that we're having on the lawn care side and the pest control side. It'd be awesome to have one software for everything. Where you're like, well, actually, we're working on that right now. Yeah. But I know you want to lean. Yeah. You want to lean more onto the lawn care side too. Is that correct?
Well, our next 2 largest industries on the platform is lawn and pool, and it's only natural for us to kind of listen to, what specifically is there that we can do for them because we're naturally bringing those companies on board, and so we, of course, are going to widen our net a bit. We've always been in pest control. That's where we come from. We definitely want to have a flag in the ground that, we can do anything there. We meet all the auditing requirements and material recording requirements for that. But of course, if Gorillaz is going to continue to become a strong company, we need to be able to serve more of those companies that are coming on board. So yeah, I want to naturally progress that way. And that feels like a natural progression to me.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, I know we talked when we are down there, like I would love to beta test everything I can for you to help out. I think it'd be super fun to, learn from each other. How do you guys handle inventory in Gorilla Desk?
So this is one of the areas that we haven't worked out yet. That we have some of those companies like HVAC and plumbing, we find like half of them coming on board, they already have an inventory management process, and the other half are looking for it to already be integrated.
Yeah.
So this is an area that we're still looking to, it's probably going to be later this year that we look to integrate inventory management directly. Now we do help with inventory with the products that they barcode scan where they're tracking devices and stuff in the field. So we have natural inventory for that, but managing all other inventory, this isn't baked into Gorilla Desk yet.
Yeah. I'm not sure that it's baked into a lot of softwares yet. That's why I asked what the future looks like. And yeah, they can do the barcode thing and where certain things are, but as far as inventory as a whole would be really, really nice to have.
Yeah.
So you can kind of just watch where all your inventories are at across the whole company, whether you're in, same branch or multiple branches, you can kind of just watch where you're at inventory. It'd be so awesome.
Yeah. It's cool too that the mapping's already integrated and to see your inventory where it would be, visually too. I like that as an idea.
Yeah, I love that. So that you'd be looking at that towards the end of the year, maybe?
Yeah, most likely. I already know it's there.
Yeah, that's really cool. I have a ton of questions written for you.
All right.
I just gotta go through and check the ones that I have off. So when it comes to the lawn care side, when do you think you'll be getting into more of that side of the world? Is that coming down the pipeline soon too?
We're already there and we've lived there because a lot of the companies on the platform are hybrid pest lawn, like a good amount of them. So a lot of the lawn care services we listened for early on to understand how those service types were built, their frequencies and their billing processes, and then we already built for them. So it's pretty natural for a lawn care company to come into Gorilla Desk and pretty easy. It's just, what are they comparing against and what is the value they're offering? They're looking at Gorilla Desk, like besides what else would they be utilizing? I don't want to go into direct comparisons,
for sure.
So, I think that all the frequencies and service plans that they would already expect to be there are there because we're serving those companies already.
That's really cool. And then what about like your app for technicians, app for sales guys? Is there an app for each? Only one?
So right now the app is basically, it's one, which is a service level technician app. We don't have like a door-to-door integrated app. Most people might use a Sales Rabbit with Gorilla Desk to do that. But yeah, basically it's a technician service level app, allows them to see their jobs, allows them to basically do everything. There's nothing that we hold back that they would be able to do on the desktop generally. So, charging customers, taking signatures, handling documents, firing off emails, text messages, on the way messages, all that stuff is accessible to them.
Yeah. And are you currently using automation or is that coming down the pipeline soon as well?
Yeah, there's already a lot of automation and triggers available in a specific triggers area where you can set up a job. Once it's completed, it could handle the whole billing process once the technician hits the complete button. Things like that, we get a lot of feedback on. I just want, when this one status hits that, these additional items happen and everything's automated. So we have built for the most requested automations already, and they already exist.
That's cool. How about any sales automations, marketing sales automations or anything like that?
There aren't really, and that was kind of why I was leaning on that pipeline tool coming in. That's going to kind of be where we have our first offering on the sales side. What we did come out with though is, you can do production and sales commission in Gorilla Desk. So you can mark if a item or service itself was sold by any individual user, and then it will report back on commission-based sales that way. So that's kind of where we're at. But as far as a sales pipeline tool, that'll be coming soon.
And as far as like the commission side, can you do the lawn care side of sales and pest control side of sales?
Yeah. It'll take care of it both.
That's really cool because I know there's some softwares that only do one and it's just not great.
Mm-hmm.
So for the next year, what does Chris's day-to-day look like as a software developer? This is a whole new world to a lot of us. So.
You think you guys are interested in what it looks like to be a software developer?
I am. I think it's just different, because your world is way different than my world.
Is it something that you ever considered?
No, I'm just not that guy. You guys are way too smart for me.
Okay. I never felt that way because I feel like I'm just like you guys, but it's just continuing to figure out each thing as you go. I think it's the same any entrepreneur goes through. So I don't think you really need to be crazy smart. You do need to have good partners that are great on the tech side. And they're really looking to you as a visionary to be more creative, to make sure that the product is developing. And I think that that's more of an art than it is being too smart. The art of listening, I think, is as long as you're a good listener, you'd be a good product developer. So the day-to-day for me, I have meetings Tuesdays and Wednesdays in the morning. I have a meeting with the success team one day and then the product team on another day. And we're pretty much just hashing out any issues that come out from the previous week. So I try to keep the meetings normal. And then the rest of the time I'm interacting with the team. Usually my morning hours, I interact with the team around product design and development and strategy in my morning hours. That's what I like to do. So I do that the most then. And then I'll kind of link up with sales just to see how the day is going midway through. We pretty much track sales here on a daily basis. So I'm watching what's happening as far as amount of new trials coming through, the overall pipeline, how much are getting sold through each day, that we're hitting our average sales number each week. So I am kind of holding the sales lead seat down, watching that number. And I try to get my meals in because I'm, like to lift. So throughout my day, I'm eating every few hours. And the second half of the day is just checking in on Slack and my email and getting back to anybody that I have to get back to. And I usually only schedule meetings for myself with anybody in the afternoon. And I try not to do anything as a meeting. I try to do everything through email if I can. So
that's awesome. Didn't you say do you use scaling up or was it US? Do you guys do something different there?
So I was trained on scaling up. Vern Harnish is scaling up, and EOS is traction. So I have bits of that I've taken from each that I manage my business on. I like the culture framework. I like level 10 meetings. Mainly around meeting cadences and structures I got from EOS that are pretty good. Yeah.
And I wrote those things down because I know that you said you integrated those two Vern Harnishes and you integrated EOS model together. And I was like, oh, that's kind of fascinating. Like he took two models to make them work for one. And then I have a couple of other questions for you. As far as a coach, did you find a coach early on or a mentor early on that helped you with the business or?
So I did a lot of things the hard way for a while until I found EO, which is the Entrepreneurs Organization. And in there, I found a few good buddies, like running mates, that were also in SaaS that I got to learn a lot from. And then there were also mentors there that were there to help accelerate my business and kind of go over those, I guess, leadership learning roadblock that we all have when we haven't managed companies of a certain type or scale. And so, I've always been, like I think any entrepreneur, very into self-learning and to self-development. But EO had a good amount of mentors that I was able to have around me and then make other friendships that were people that were doing the same thing I was, and then being able to bounce off ideas became pretty valuable.
It's so important. Another thing that really, really hit home with it when I was talking to you, Chris, was your thoughts around mindset and how you think just a little bit differently than most people think. And you told me a few things, but why don't you talk on mindset in the world that we live in? I'm going to touch base on that because I found it super fascinating. That's one of the biggest things that I took home, like how to change someone's mindset.
Well, is there anything specific to that?
No, not really.
Or do you want me to go?
Go just hammer it because I thought it was awesome.
Well, I think it was more of referring, I think I was really into people's emotional reaction to things. And people react emotionally to things because they usually hadn't thought about that enough to put a process into place to where it doesn't have them react emotionally anymore. I noticed that being one of the main things that a lot of people, if they understood the freedom, having process gives you freedom in your mind and your ability to act and show up in the way that you want to show up. Was that one of the things that
it
we were
was
talking
because
about?
like you said, no matter what happens, you always have to have a process in place. So no matter what happened, if you just go back to the process, it doesn't matter what you feel, just this is how we handle it.
So a lot of time you'll notice that if something's making you feel a certain way, the first thing that I would go to, which became a great practice for me, was, okay, do I have a process for this? I'm feeling a certain way I don't want to feel, or my body is reacting a certain way. Okay. But it's probably meaning if I'm anxious about something and I don't have a process for it, if somebody's coming at me, triggering me a certain way, maybe I don't have a process for that. So what is the process? I always ask myself. Mm-hmm. And the process is really simple. Like, people get paralyzed, and a process is literally a checklist. Process could be one bullet point and another. It starts off as simple as that, but what is it that you do as your process for that?
Yeah. And when we were talking, you probably noticed that I told you I was taking notes, but every time you'd say something, I'm sitting there taking notes. That's my process for, like, okay, how do I remember this stuff from these people? These super high level people that are saying things. I just look at my phone, I'll throw in some notes, and that way, like today, I can go back and look at my notes. Like, what do we talk about? Like, how do you remember those conversations? Well, I just have a process that I built out of my head. Like, I need to note this. I need to note this. So I'm constantly taking notes. And I think that's just
a lot of the. Sorry to cut you off, but a lot of the process happens to be around hiring, coaching within their company. A lot of the emotional responses, that they get triggered around the communication that has to happen between them and their employees, and not having really good process for how communication exists in their company.
Yeah. The next thing I had written down was books. You're an avid reader like myself, and you're constantly posting books on your social media. What's your Instagram?
C Moreschi. Yeah, so Chris Moreschi and just C Moreschi.
Yeah, you guys got to check that out. Super cool. Fascinating, but there's a ton of books. So if you guys are ever in need of a book to read, go look at Chris's Instagram. There's books all over the place. But what are the top 2-3 books in your mind that every business or entrepreneur should read? I know there's a lot of them. We talked about this that night too.
Yeah. So one of them I really like is The War of Art.
Yeah.
Which is a short book, but kind of gets you, aligned with purpose. And, so that's a real short read that gets anybody into starting their personal self-development, and I find that people can easily digest it, and also help my brother. I really like to read so much, kind of start his self-development journey off that book. So that's why I like to recommend it. It's very hard because I like really categorize books into lots of different topics and methods and how they can help you. But let's see if we can find another really good one. So the next one I would like to read, because I read it the most often, is Good to Great. And really understanding what makes great companies, and the effort that goes behind that, and what that actually looks like, because you don't know what that looks like until you go through that book, and then you have to constantly. And if I were to put in an hyper actionable book, I like Profit First. I think Profit First makes people think of their business with a different mindset around profitability. You can act on it really easily. It's literally just taking a different group of accounts and making sure that Profit First is hitting that account. Yep. And, if the intention isn't just to go to sell and you're going for profitability, then I like it as a model.
Yeah, I do.
There's many more. I just,
but those are the same ones that you almost told me that same night. It really was. And we talked about the Profit First model quite a bit that night. And I told you I bought an entire company cash because I had a profit account. And I just happened to, I watched him speak in person twice, read Mike's books. I'm like, oh, I have to do this. So we implemented it. It's so simple. Like, even in the book, it tells the exact numbers compared to revenue. And then if there's no profit, well, then you have to fix the business, right? There's something pricing wrong. What does Chris like to do for fun? How do you?
I like to play.
I
like to play guitar and work out. Basically, I hit the gym. That decompresses me. That makes sure that my body feels good and in shape. And if I don't work out, I'm anxious about that. So I like to hit the gym, like to eat well, and I like to. Right now my goal is to really bring up my chops, bring up my theory on guitar, so I can start to write songs in my free time. So
that's cool. How long have you been lifting for, working out?
I kind of really took a good break during COVID. So we'll just say that we started, let's say, within the last 2 years, again, hardcore. I was really working out for a while before that, but then things slowed down. I didn't get to that gym so much. I ended up building a gym next door to my place so that I can get my lifts in again. So, but working out for me means you're working out and you're eating correctly at the same time. The diet's in line. So I'd probably say like 2 years.
What's more important, the diet or working out?
So man, it's tough. Like, you need the food to build the muscle, but you need the motion to make the muscle happen as well. So I don't know. I don't think I could take a side. I think they're equally important.
I noticed that when I'm off on one thing, I'm off on both. Hands down. What's your thoughts on cardio? Do you do a lot of cardio?
Try not to.
Try not to. Just burn your calories through lifting?
Basically, yeah. If you have good hard lifts that are intense, you want to do like 2 cardio sessions a week. But, usually I'll just go with walks with my wife and, she'll make sure that it's brisk.
Yeah. We, last Tuesday, we were at the gym and it's leg day on Tuesday. We did a mile of lunges.
Wow.
It took
50, so you felt it, huh?
I did 59 minutes and it burned like 780 calories. But I couldn't walk Thursday or Friday. Like, it was a struggle. Like, I didn't get back to the gym until the next Monday. I should have, but I was busy working too, and I was out of town. But it was brutal. So if you're interested in trying something hard, like my motto is just do hard shit. Yeah, it was super hard at the time, but now I can say that I did it. And I think that's the kind of makes us a little bit different. We're a little off in that gym.
Yeah, I have a trainer I work with a couple of days a week. He sets up my workout plan and my diet plan. So, it helps.
Yeah. So you have a coach inside the gym too. And I obviously do too. I have one coach that just is at the gym. And then I have another personal coach that's just my diet coach.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just like this last month with everything that's going on, and it's a super lame excuse, but my diet hasn't been the greatest. It hasn't. But then I wrote down my goals this morning. I'm like, okay, get back to it. I can just tell. Energy levels, everything.
But that's okay.
Yeah, and at 8, 9 o'clock at night when I'm starting to like fall off, I'm like, what is going on? I just go straight back to my diet. I'm like, that's exactly why. You got to get back to your diet. Because usually I'm just rock and roll until 10, 11 o'clock at night. It doesn't matter. But this last month, I'm like, what is going on? It's just my diet,
And recommit yourself.
Yep. What do you typically eat like during the day?
This is an interesting question. So I eat the same thing every day. It's 2 whole eggs and 3 egg whites in the morning with a cup of oatmeal and a couple of blueberries. And then, your multivitamins. And then the next 5 meals are 4 to 5 ounces of lean beef, a cup of rice, a cup of veggie, and 2 to 4 ounces of guac. And that's it. I eat like a dog. I eat the same thing all the time.
For sure. So that's interesting because when I look at my meal plan, it's not far off of that. Like maybe we have the same coach and we don't even know it.
Mostly beef?
Yeah, beef. A lot of beef and chicken. Yeah. Any type of meat, 4 to 6 ounces of meat. And then they'll throw in some peanuts here and there or cashews here and there, and that's about it. And then he also has me doing lots of green vegetables too, and then shakes, protein shakes. So I wake up to a protein shake, go to the gym, come back, 2 eggs, 3 egg whites, same thing. And the next 3, 4 meals are pretty much all the same.
You're doing heavy lifts throughout the week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, that's for growth. I grow best on beef. And,
it's funny how everybody's body is a little bit different, right? Have you ever taken a blood test to match your diet?
No, not really. But I have blood tests that show what I'm doing in my diet is good for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that Grant Cardone just came out with that 10X Health. I don't know if you've seen that at all.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting where they can literally tell you like to the day when you're going to die. That's pretty wild. And that's what like life insurance companies, they know those numbers, right? So they're banking on you dying. But if you can just change a few things in your life, like working out or eating habits, it can save you 5, 10, 15 years of your life, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, one of the things that I learned is how important sunlight is in your eyes to help set your circadian rhythm. So it helps your sleep. So a lot of us that work inside, if you're at a computer, you should be first thing in the morning getting sun in your eye, and then a couple of times periodically through the day, or at least before the sun sets and goes down, because it actually does help set your circadian rhythm. It makes a big difference.
We don't have a whole lot of sun this time of year around here. So maybe
you'll still be able to get its rays. Something about looking and having it affect your own eyes.
That's interesting. I never knew that. Look at that. I learned something today. I always love learning. Of course, learning from you. And I asked you this question too, but what is your 5-year plan?
So, I think that my plan it's definitely to stay on the path of growing Gorilla Desk. There's no intention of selling Gorilla Desk anytime soon, because it's what I wake up and still feel like passionately I want to be doing every day. Yeah. So.
I know I asked you that same question. Like, how many times has someone tried to acquire you? Like, yeah, pretty much every day.
Yeah, and so and I've been this for enough of time that money and the exit doesn't even have much of an impact, because I don't live that extravagantly. So, I like doing it. I like still developing the product that there's still a great end product that we can still achieve and get to. And it's going to be a little while to really get there, and then, and then make it continually be successful. So I'm up for that game. I'm up for that challenge. And, it's going to be strategy around executing on that challenge. That's kind of the next 5-year plan.
Yeah. And I do enjoy that, because a lot of the companies that are out there have recently got acquired. And I feel like when they get acquired, they're going to they get a bigger development team, but everything just slows down, right? Like they don't talk to the customers as much. It's not as personable, their development slows way down. You'd think it would speed up, but it doesn't. Like they stop talking to their customers. They stop caring about the little things, which we really, really liked. So I appreciate that you have no plans on selling out at this point. I know money talks, right? Sometimes, so an offer could come through, but like I just appreciate that about you, because it's not about the money. Like I just want to develop a great product.
Yeah.
And do you see the same thing happen in the software world?
What do you mean exactly?
Like when people get go through an acquisition, that like everything just seems to change and slow down and just not be as.
Yeah, definitely. You're right on the money. And that's one of the competitive advantages that we have. Yeah. So is that community and that listening the ears down. We're actually making changes. People stick on and hold on to that because they know that you're there. They know that you actually listen, and they have the feeling and know that they go to another company. It's not that way. It doesn't feel that way. They don't act that way.
Yep.
So that's one of our competitive advantages.
I agree. And then there's a Facebook page that everyone can kind of go jump into, right? Like, is it Pest Professionals? Which one is yours?
Yeah, Pest Control Professionals.
And there's a lot of people in there.
Yeah, there's a lot. Pest Control Professionals is a large group. You guys want to get in there, just go ahead and, request to enter.
Yeah. Did you start that yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. I knew that I wanted to have a voice in the community and establish that. So Facebook groups were one of the bigger entities at the time when I was establishing Gorilla Desk now 10 years ago to do that, where everybody was congregating.
Yeah, it was funny because I've been in that group for I don't know how many years. You could probably tell me. And then one day I looked at it and there was you. Like after I met you talking, like one of your videos, I'm like, huh, that guy's a smart man. It's pretty cool. So now there's how many followers are in there?
I don't know, maybe like 9,000.
Yeah, I was going to guess it close to 10 or 14. I can't remember exactly what it was, but
yeah,
super impressive. Like that page is It's a great page. So anybody that wants to learn about Gorilla Desk or if wants to learn about pest control in general should absolutely jump in that page.
Yeah, and all the videos about Gorilla Desk are also right on our website. We do all of our tutorials are right there online. Nothing is behind a paywall. There's no contracts at Gorilla Desk. So we want you guys really to be able to learn what we have to offer, understand, and not, be tied into anything before you make a decision.
Yeah, that's super cool. I know I was checking out your YouTube earlier this morning too, just going through your videos, just learning about Gorilla Desk, see what there was. It's super awesome. Is that another strategy of yours? Is YouTube and video content?
YouTube, it's really just for promoting our training material. We did have a strategy to, go out and interview our own customers, but the Gorilla Desk team is really, I've kept it small on purpose so we can be hyper focused on the product.
Yeah.
But you can see that we did dabble in some video content for customers for a bit. But right now, all the content needs to shift back to redeveloping everything for version 3, because we're gonna really release version 3 at the end of this year, at this season, and so all of our content will end up being changed and being overhauled.
I'm excited for you. It's gonna be super awesome. One of my last questions that I always ask, because you're a stud and we all want to learn, what is some great advice that you were given early on as an entrepreneur that you would give back to someone that's just starting out their career now?
Yeah, so there's probably 2 things. Learning what it really means to have integrity, like getting back to any communication within a timely manner and not letting things that exist in the unsaid that should be said. We all keep things to ourselves, where those things should probably end up being said in a way that's productive, so they end up getting out and then work through. Have integrity with yourself and being able to hold yourself to account to deal with things that are difficult, and then staying on top of those things, not letting them build up. That's what it means to have integrity, keeping your word with yourself, but also when it doesn't feel good and right, to continue to do that. So one of the things is I learned really what integrity really was. It's about bringing things into the unsaid, into the said, so that they can be dealt with and worked through, and having integrity with that process.
There's a good book writer. There's a good book writer on there about crucial conversations. Is good.
Yeah, exactly. And so the next thing is, the biggest and best companies make hiring a process. People say that they have difficulty hiring, but how strong is your hiring as a process in your company? People tend to turn hiring on and off. Well, the best companies are always hiring. So I'd say, you get to a certain level, you learn that how important it is to always be hiring, that your talent is what makes your company. A lot of the smaller service companies may not think that way because they're just trying to hire someone on for the next season. But I'd be thinking about always be hiring, because you want to make sure that when you do find that next team member, you're not just forcing it and you're finding people that are actually culturally aligned. And that takes time. So you have to allow the time to find people that are a real culture fit for your company. And that's why it's important that you are, always hiring as a process in your company.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I'm currently going through a book that Patrick Bet-David said that you should read to change everyone's business. And one of the things that stuck out with me in the book was when they're going through recruiting, they're going through their hiring process, they ask themselves, could this person be number 1 or number 2 in our company someday? And if it's a no, they don't hire them. But if it's a yes, they bring them on board, which is crazy to think. I never thought like that, but I'm like, huh. So now we're doing recruiting events this morning. Now this is playing through my head. Like, are they really, really worth it at the end of the day? Is it really worth our time putting into them? Could they be that good? It's just a whole different level of thinking. If you're looking for a good book, it's Unreasonable Hospitality.
Cool. Yeah, write that one down.
I'll share it with you. But yeah, Patrick Bet-David had said that. And then earlier in our talk, you mentioned running mates. I know that's a Patrick Bet-David thing. And then that's another reason why you and I connected, because you follow him closely. I follow him closely. Next thing you know, we're possibly going to a sales event together down in Boca.
Yeah, I want to try to make the sales leadership summit.
Cool. That'd be fun. How long have you been following Patrick for?
Probably, I don't know, before the pandemic, so it's been maybe 5 years.
Yeah, it's about the same for
6
me.
years.
He's been a valuable mentor to me. He doesn't even know it. I mean, I told him that him and I are going to be best friends someday. And he just kind of laughed. So he knows me as the pest control guy that's going to be his best friend someday.
That's awesome.
Cool. Was there anything else about Gorilla Desk before we jump off that you want to tell everyone?
I just, I appreciate you guys, whoever takes a look, see if it's a fit for your business. I know that we're trying to do good things and trying to take care of everybody.
Yeah.
So whoever can share it, if you know somebody who's starting up or has a little issue, with automation or getting things going, thinking of Gorilla Desk, I just appreciate that and give us a chance. That's it.
That's awesome. And I know, like, I've been seeing people posting, like it showed you, like the same exact day that we met, someone was asking me which software I should use. I sent them your way. And I think it's just a great way to connect and get you some more business. And I think it's super awesome. And I honestly think that you and I should sit down sometime and just see if it's a win-win for both of us to have us jump over too. We're hiring a new director of operations here in the next month, so that's kind of be on her thing. But I think it'd be really, really cool for to see us grow with Gorilla Desk.
Yeah, and if anybody has any questions outside of that, I'm always available at chris@gorilladesk.com. Anything, honestly, even if you're just starting up, I'm happy to help.
That's cool. I appreciate you being here, buddy.
All right, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the Pest Control Millionaire Podcast. If this was valuable to you, please leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. It really makes a big difference for our growth. And if you do need any help growing your business, go ahead and check out pestcontrolmillionaire.com. We have lots of courses up there, from sales to operations. I have some courses there about producing short form content. Plus, we have a mentorship program where you can get one-on-one business coaching from the Pest Control Millionaire himself. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.